On the global stage, the most brutal blows are often delivered during the truce negotiation phase. Amid the Hormuz blockade, the Iranian leadership faces a scenario that perfectly mirrors this vivid Middle Eastern crisis. A massive military alliance is forming between Saudi Arabia and nuclear-capable Pakistan. This move likely blindsided Washington as it shatters long-standing Gulf defense norms and instantly flips the regional balance of power in a single stroke. It is an international display of might involving 10,000 soldiers, along with scores of combat aircraft and transport units. Furthermore, this isn't an isolated event. For the first time ever, Gulf nations are demonstrating a truly unified military response. While the Saudis bolster their ground and air assets alongside Pakistan, the Emirates have fast-tracked their own coalition plans. Bahrain still serves as the home for the American Fifth Fleet, while Qatar secures the central command base. Yet the true shock to Tehran was seeing Riyadh and Islamabad join forces on the battlefield. The heavy-hitting division Pakistan sent to the Saudi eastern province's most vital hubs has completely upended the regional status quo. 13,000 top-tier Pakistani troops fortified King Abdulaziz Air Base in one night, supported by a lethal air fleet aimed squarely at the center of Iran. This choice of location is intentional. That air base stands as one of the Saudi assets closest to the Iranian frontier. Based in Tehran, this facility sits right on the edge of the Strait of Hormuz. Essentially, Pakistani pilots and ground forces have taken up positions directly on Iran's front porch. A giant combined Saudi-Pakistani war machine is now just a single flight away from the Iranian border. The tide is turning as Iranian commanders used to urban skirmishes and shadow wars must finally face a disciplined, aggressive conventional army. What is truly remarkable, though, is Islamabad's commitment to shield Riyadh from Iranian aggression using its finest military divisions. Pakistan's premier infantry and commandos, forged through years of counter-terror operations and border conflicts, are now arriving on the scene. Master technicians of air defense ready to ambush in the desert heat, along with heavy armor units designed to shatter enemy lines, are also en route. Hand-picked units from Pakistan's 10th and 11th Corps are being used to solidify Saudi Arabia's defensive perimeter. Yet the biggest threat isn't the boots on the ground. It is the quiet, relentless danger lurking high above in the clouds. Those lethal gray silhouettes are launching in waves from the tarmacs of King Abdulaziz Air Base. 10 to 18 JF-17 Thunder Block 3 and J-10C combat planes. These aren't just your typical planes cruising through the airspace. These high-tech hunters use cutting-edge radar to spot even the smallest movement deep inside Iranian territory from across the Gulf. They act as airborne command centers, jamming hostile missiles and disabling enemy tech through electronic warfare. Armed with PL-15 long-range missiles, they neutralize Iranian drone threats, effectively constructing a total air umbrella over both nations. This massive tech advantage can wipe out Iran's aging embargo-crippled fleet from beyond the horizon before they even appear on the radar. This immense aerial strength isn't just limited to a handful of fighters either. Trailing the jets are ZDK-03 early warning planes serving as massive all-seeing observers in the heavens. Islamabad is providing refueling tankers, so the Saudis can fly for days without stopping, cementing a coalition Tehran never anticipated. Consider the Saudi military's own defensive might alongside the heavy support coming from the Pakistanis. These two nations have a pact much like NATO's Article 5, meaning an assault on one is an assault on both. The groundwork for this enormous military surge was established in secret meetings. This wasn't born from the current crisis. It stems from a lethal mutual defense treaty Riyadh and Islamabad signed in September 2025. The deal went far beyond simple arms deals or routine military drills. That specific mutual defense clause is exactly what sparked today's Gulf crisis and sent shockwaves through Iran. So you have to factor in Riyadh's own arsenal on top of the thousands of men and jets Pakistan has contributed. Active duty personnel in the Saudi military number roughly 230,000. Their air force operates over 300 advanced aircraft, including F-15SAs, F-16, and Typhoons. We also can't ignore the massive missile defense net of Patriot THAAD and SAM-T batteries guarding the skies. This robust system forms a layered defense against any incoming Iranian missiles or drone strikes. American units play a major role too, with F-35s and F-15 at Prince Sultan Air Base syncing with Saudi defenses. Between 3,000 and 4,000 American troops are currently stationed on Saudi soil. With rotating units added in, we're seeing a powerful triad of Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and the United States. Does the developing situation in the Gulf make more sense to you now? Saudi Arabia's multi-billion-dollar tech stack has fused with Pakistan's fierce take-no-prisoners warrior spirit in the skies. The reach of Saudi eyes in the sky and the precision of Pakistani firepower have effectively merged into one. Meanwhile, America has extended its security shield over this combined regional powerhouse. The image appearing on the monitors in Tehran's war rooms is far worse than a simple tactical hurdle. It is a total mental breakdown, a force capable of completely shattering the Iranian military's sense of superiority. Suddenly, Tehran is staring down not just the wealthy Gulf royals, but also a massive nuclear-equipped neighbor's war machine. Now, any Iranian attempt to slip a drone into Saudi air or launch a missile would trigger a brutal overkill response from both Riyadh and Islamabad. Basically, a lethal, inescapable strategic noose has tightened. Years of Iranian propaganda painting Riyadh as a rich but soft American puppet with no tactical brains has been completely demolished. Still, the Saudis weren't naive enough to believe that winning meant just cluttering the sky with jets or the ground with boots. Major conflicts are settled by the quiet snap of a breaking economy rather than the roar of exploding warheads. We witnessed this play out during the global energy shocks of the Iran crisis. We've seen Tehran use energy as a weapon for decades, threatening to choke the straits and leave the world in the dark. Riyadh was busy dismantling that very leverage deep under the desert sands, neutralizing their asymmetric threats. On April 8th, Tehran struck high on the thrill of what they thought was a cheap win. Iranian kamikaze drones and missiles hammered the supposed core of Saudi energy, the Manifa and Kursaniya sites. They hit key pumps on the east-west line, sending massive plumes of fire into the atmosphere. In those first few moments, things looked incredibly bleak. 1.3 million barrels of daily capacity vanished instantly, bringing the whole operation to a standstill. Tehran believed they'd slit Riyadh's throat, crushed their economy, and broke the global markets. Yet 4 days later, Riyadh hit back with cold, calculated engineering prowess. On April 12th, the Saudi energy chiefs did a lot more than just sweep up the wreckage. They fired up a massive industrial beast that completely rewrites global energy math and zeroes out Iran's grip on the shipping lanes. Specifically, we're looking at the East-West oil pipeline. This is a giant artery starting in the eastern province, a zone that's always under the shadow of Iranian missiles. This incredible line travels hundreds of miles under the desert, tucked away where Tehran's hardware can't touch it. It then reaches all the way to the Yanbu port on the Red Sea coast. It's a total strategic end-around. However, the real kicker isn't where it goes, but the sheer volume it moves. Pushing engineering to the edge, they cranked capacity to a staggering 7 million barrels every single day. That number isn't just a minor production bump. It's a strategic cage that removes the chaotic speedboat-infested waters of the Strait of Hormuz from the whole equation. It looks like a massive steel barricade is being erected, one that rams Iran's threats of a global oil blackout right back down Tehran's throat. Riyadh's response to those threats was crystal clear and absolutely merciless. Even if the Gulf is engulfed in flames, my oil will circle the firehead out the Red Sea and reach the world regardless. This bold talk is rapidly becoming a concrete reality on the ground. But the strategic nightmare for Tehran didn't stop with Riyadh. The UAE also started bulletproofing itself against energy threats. Abu Dhabi, always a target for Iranian threats, quietly built its own multi-billion-dollar backup artery. The 380-kilometer Habshan-Fujairah line, costing $4.2 billion, moves 1.5 to 1.8 million barrels daily to the safe Gulf of Oman, bypassing the Strait of Hormuz entirely. Yet the most crushing part of this project isn't its size, its length, or the billions spent building it. The true blow, the thing that's making Tehran lose its mind, is the stinging diplomatic irony of this whole setup. Word is Chinese firms actually built the thing, laying those pipes with their own hands. Isn't Beijing supposed to be Iran's only real heavyweight friend? They are their top customer and supposedly their most unshakable ally. Unbelievable, Tehran's most trusted partner built the very tools the Gulf Arabs needed to neutralize Iranian blackmail. Rarely has modern history seen such a humiliating display of how money and global interests trump loyalty and diplomacy. And the shocks for Iran don't end there. On March 27th, the UAE openly announced it was ready to join the fight. Supply lines for the coalition now run through Jebel Ali, while Al-Dhafra has opened its gates to American units. Such defensive maneuvers are logical following the April 8th incident where Tehran struck the Emirates using 17 ballistic missiles and 35 drones. The strikes specifically aimed to cripple the Habshan gas facilities and the primary oil hub at Fujairah. In response, the Emirates lobbied the UN Security Council for a use-of-force mandate, signaling that Abu Dhabi is shifting toward an offensive strategy. They are essentially joining the Saudis and Pakistanis in constructing a massive defensive wall to keep Iran at bay. This partnership isn't just about protecting the oil flow, it is a full-scale military integration. Bahrain belongs in this group too, especially since it remains a prime target for Iranian drone swarms and missile strikes. To protect the American Fifth Fleet stationed on their soil, this small island nation has committed every possible asset to the cause. Kuwait is also tightening its military bond with the United States after its own water plants and oil infrastructure were caught in the crosshairs. This is why Ali al-Salam now hosts American forces, a move that perfectly mirrors the current tactical shift in Qatar. While CENTCOM's hub at Al Udeid remains heavily fortified, these nations realize that standing alone makes them weak, but together they are a superpower. Combined, they form a vast, impenetrable shield over the entire region. Air defense grids, radar installations, shipping ports, and supply chains are all being fused into one single operating system. The security initiative launched by Riyadh and Islamabad is now rapidly encompassing every corner of the Gulf territory. For the Iranian leadership, the outlook is grim as they find themselves strangled by both economic sanctions and a military ring of fire. They have zero friends left on the world stage, especially with Russia focused entirely on its own grueling armed conflict. China is also keeping its distance, refusing to gamble its energy security by backing Tehran against the wealthy Gulf states. Even neutral Oman has fallen silent, and while proxies like Hezbollah or the Houthis remain active, they cannot stop a direct coalition assault. Guerrilla tactics and asymmetric strikes simply cannot break through a standard high-tech military blockade. The government in Tehran is currently facing its most severe period of geopolitical isolation since its founding. Based on these shifts, it is evident that April 2026 represents a total transformation of Middle Eastern power dynamics. Dispatching 13,000 Pakistani troops to Saudi Arabia marks the first real activation of their 2025 pact against the Iranian threat. This unified military push is effectively creating a brand new blueprint for collective security throughout the Middle East. Furthermore, new steel pipelines have essentially rendered Iran's threat to close the Strait of Hormuz a relic of the past. If Tehran fails to pierce this multi-layered siege, they will likely face unprecedented financial and military devastation in the coming weeks. Yet a cornered animal is always the most volatile. Iran's drone swarms and speedboats could still set the whole region ablaze. To put it simply, the high-stakes maneuvering in the Gulf has reached a point where any mistake could lead to total disaster. Will this massive show of force make Iran stand down, or will the regime lash out even harder now that they are trapped? Please share your perspective on this situation in the comment section below. We appreciate you choosing us for your news.